A federal judge has dismissed a 2024 lawsuit filed by Heather Frost, also known as Heather Kirby, against Norman County officials. She had contended that the sheriff's office and others weren't doing enough to enforce protection orders against abused women. Now, that lawsuit was settled after the county agreed to give Kirby a cash settlement. However, the amount of that cash settlement has not been disclosed. We don't know how much that was at this point. For background on all this, here's our original interview with Kirby from March of 2024. Heather Kirby, the former crime victims advocate for Norman County, Minnesota, has filed a federal civil lawsuit against that county's top officials, including the sheriff, his deputies, the county prosecutor, and county commissioners. In part, Kirby claims the sheriff's office wasn't doing its job in enforcing protection orders abused women had against men, and the county prosecutor wasn't collecting and filing statements from victims of crime. Crime victim advocates help navigate crime victims through the legal process, offering emotional support and getting them the resources they need. Kirby says after complaining about the sheriff's office and county attorney, she was driven out of her job where she worked from March of 2020 to March of 2023. In her civil lawsuit, Kirby is asking for a minimum of $75,000 in damages as required by statute. The courts will decide the damage amount if damages are found.
Can you explain to folks basically what this is all about?
Yes, I have a lot of evidence in this case, and this case should be made into a documentary given the amount of evidence that I do have, and the evidence will be shared in court. Norman County has been allowed to mistreat victims and violate their rights, and I have seen firsthand what happens to those who speak out against Norman County and against the status quo. I've been threatened twice. Deputies were driving past my house. Deputies followed me to my home. The sheriff's office called into the next county over to inquire about how to get me in trouble on the job, as well as Norman County Sheriff's Office pulled my background a total of 17 times, my personal driver's information, and some of that information was leaked out onto Facebook. I have screenshots of 2 deputies as well as the sheriff's office manager engaging in the soliciting of negative information about me on Facebook. This whole experience has been terrifying. Cops are supposed to be the good guys. Most Americans want to support the blue. That notion comes from our U.S. Constitution. But when law enforcement creates lawlessness and chaos rather than law and order in the land, I cannot support law enforcement officers or deputies who act in this manner.
So what are you contending that they haven't done as far as victims' rights?
They violated victim rights under 611A. There's responsibilities there that law enforcement, the judge, the county attorney, the crimes victim advocate, we're supposed to uphold those rights. Things like plea deals, we're supposed to be letting the victims know of those things. We're supposed to be collecting victim impact statements as well as, restitution forms. And those things weren't simply being done.
And how about as far as enforcing protection orders?
As far as the OFP and the HRO is concerned, law enforcement are supposed to support those. It's a signed document from a judge, and they're supposed to be enforcing them. So to tell a victim, that we're not, going to enforce the OFP or the HRO because, if somebody's family member contacted you and when they're not supposed to because that violates third-party contact under the Minnesota guidelines or the statute.
So you're saying they haven't actually enforced a lot of these?
Correct. Yes. I mean, to the point where victims in Norman County were simply not going and getting these orders because they realized that they weren't going to be enforced anyway by law enforcement.
Okay. So when did you start and when did you quit and why?
I started in the county in March of 2020. I left in March of 2023. I left due to just basically realizing that this is the status quo. This is the normal state of business in Norman County. They don't want to uphold victim rights. I still have victims that show up to my front door needing help, and I've left the county a year ago. And it just shows me that it's a testament that I knew what I was doing in my job. And these victims are still reaching out to me needing help.
Again, Norman County settled that civil lawsuit with Kirby with a cash settlement to her. Again, the amount of that settlement has not been disclosed. I'm Neil Carlson reporting for iNewZ.TV.